Hey guys, grab a coffee, grab a snack, sit back and listen to me yap about a game for 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes I just want to talk to you guys about a game and not to worry about all the editing and stuff. So today's game is going to be Oblivion, one of my favorite games of all time. It's been a while since I posted a video, and that's because I got heavily distracted with Oblivion. I was originally going to make a video about Jim Lee's Wildcats, which that still is in the works because I have it. I just need to edit it. And then I got really distracted. Essentially, in a nutshell, I wanted to play the remaster, but even after getting my new build, it just didn't run very well, and I didn't want to run through Skyrim for the millionth time, and I kind of wanted to visit something from my childhood, so Oblivion it was. You know, I haven't played this game since it was released on the 360. I fully remember this game being very good. And I mean that as from, very good from my mindset, my personal view. When I started this game again, I didn't really have a sort of expectation going in. I remembered it fondly. I do recall there being some issues like with the leveling and the level scaling itself being kind of tough, and if you play above 50% difficulty, the game kind of really kicks you in the ass randomly with some enemies that just overly scale you, like boss enemies or anything of the sorts, right? So I decided screw it. I started up a save, put it on 55% difficulty, and I've been playing it ever since with 55%. Only once or twice I had to turn it back down to 50, but even then with the scaling I had to use health potions, which wasn't a big deal. Just starting the game and going into the world and the music, right? That's the biggest thing I think a lot of people remember fondly of this game is the soundtrack. Jeremy Soule did an incredible job on this soundtrack. And I was reading that this soundtrack was inspired after he got in a fatal accident. Incredible, really, how such an emotional thing can change someone's perspective on music. Despite his current standing in the present day, I think you can still admire his works, and I still do to this day. Oblivion to me it really strikes that perfect balance between Morrowind and Skyrim. Morrowind is definitely a more old school style RPG that really does not hold your hand, while Oblivion does sort of provide a little bit more nuance to its hand holding. And what I mean by that is that you're not left in the world without really any goal of what to do. In Morrowind, you start off, you talk to the guy at the start, you make your class, you pick your normal stuff, and then you're out in the open world. And you're probably going to die a lot of times when you go out to the open world. Mud crabs, bandits, doesn't matter. Unless you pick Conjuration and totally choose the beginning of the game with the Conjure Dagger, but I digress. Oblivion, on the other hand, it's not as difficult starting out. You can die and pretty quickly, but when you first start, you come out of the sewer, and the thing right in front of you is an Ayleid ruin. The game kind of points you towards that direction, right? It wants you to go explore. And depending on what you do or the difficulty you're on, you might have a harder time exploring that area. It is a moderately difficult little dungeon to progress through that has certain enemies that you won't be able to handle if you're not equipped, as well as normal bandit enemies. The zombies that are hidden there provide quite a respectable challenge if you're not used to the combat. Speaking of the combat, everybody really talks about how the combat in Oblivion just kind of shallow, and while I can understand that to an extent, I don't agree. Hear me out. In Oblivion, you can sort of space your target the right way. If you're using a claymore or a weapon with reach, there's a lot of give and take to combat, and the stamina system is a lot different than Skyrim. Now, you can later on, of course, once you're max level or, your build's done and you're overpowered, you can R1 anybody to death, but earlier on, you really have to pick and choose your fights. Especially playing at 55% difficulty, you will notice that if you take hits, you will be in trouble, especially from zombies or things that carry diseases, because a lot of things in the game have a chance to randomly give you a disease, and then it sucks. If you're timing your blocks correctly and you're not sprinting around everywhere, you can manage combat pretty well. And this perfect block and keeping things at a distance really feels good when playing that heavier armor fighter. I haven't really played a leather wearer yet, or a stealth class or playstyle yet, as this is my first time playing through in a long time, but I can tell you, swapping between archery, sword and board, and the claymore, I feel like I'm right at home with this sort of back and forth fighting, this back and forth combat, you know? And I don't think it's bad. Is it outdated? Yeah, it is, but you know what? I think it was pretty good for the time, and even if Oblivion wasn't the most advanced game on the market at the time, I think it did great. I really like too about the weapons is that you have this feeling of enchanting and enchantments meaning like so much. Like early on, especially getting an enchanted weapon or a piece of armor is huge. So huge that even the game's like level scaling system kind of lets you feel strong. I got a sort of life train and man, it kicks ass. Like carrying that around as like my backup boss killer weapon or my, oh, this is a serious moment weapon, I pull it out, feels great. Also, can we talk about silver weapons being really good against ghosts? Like, I love that. I love that about this game. I love that there's nuance like that. And especially like bows shooting skeletons and doing nothing. Like, it's been I pulled it out and I shot a skeleton and I'm like, ah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense that doesn't work like that. And also I will say this, being able to cast magic while you have a weapon is just so great. It's not as flashy as Skyrim, where you can wield fire in both hands and torch an entire cave or raise the dead with these cool animations, but being able to have magic and back up, heal up a little bit, then come back into the fight or throw a fireball or charm somebody while still being at the ready to fight puts a pretty big emphasis on the combat flow of this game. That is definitely one of the things I love about the weapons and combat in this game. Speaking of Oblivion's advanced thing at the time, if you want to say it that, the Radiant AI really makes this game feel alive. You know, how many times have I walked around in Cyrodiil and I've seen an NPC that I talked to 2 towns away, walking, taking his trade route where he's going. And looking further into this, I mean, this is no knowledge now, but looking further into this, I heard that NPCs, and I see that NPCs have these paths that they take, and they usually don't die unless you're following them, as the game knows better than to allow them to be killed off, minus a few NPCs that just are kind of buggy without the unofficial patch. But yeah, it's incredible to me. Something that this game did that stuck out to me is the scripted nature of these quests can be picked up pretty much between A or B. If you didn't find the NPC for a certain quest, sometimes you can run across the quest and just finish it. For instance, I was going to Hack Dirt, and spoilers if no one's done this yet. I went there and I was like, wow, this town's kind of creepy. There's buildings burned down. What the hell's happening here? And it turns out I go talk to NPCs. They're very hostile. They don't want you there. You know, outsiders have burned down their town. You know, they destroyed our town, but we'll pay them back soon enough, as they say. Well, I went into the church at night and I found their Bible of the Deep Ones. That did not sit well with me as a knight character, and so I read it, and well, on the second page there turned out to be Daedric writing all over it. Well, I went to the inn and the guy offered me a pretty exorbitant price for 30 gold a night, and that stood out to me. I was like, I don't know about that one, man. The NPC at the inn had different dialogue than usual, and I was not very trustworthy. So there was a trapdoor that I found. I opened up the trapdoor when they all went to sleep, and I found an NPC trapped in a cage down below, which turned out to be the daughter of an Argonian that I helped in the town already. And well, there you go. The quest was able to be done there. I found her, I freed her, helped her get home, and it turns out if you were in the town after you've already met this NPC, she would have asked you to find her missing daughter after you already did some quests for around the town. And I was like, wow, that really did stick out to me, as simple as that is. When I was playing through this game again, I totally forgot about the castle outside Coral. And I went there and I helped fight a few bandits from this castle's militia. Turns out the lord died in battle and they crowned me as the new lord of the castle. So you get a full set of steel armor pretty early, and that was awesome. I mean, when I first came there, I followed the courier from the Black Horse Courier, went out there, she died. The guy who killed her came after me. I killed him, moved up the road a bit more, got my ass kicked, reload the save again, and retried it by using a bow this time. And the guards from inside didn't die this time around because I didn't look around the area and explore. And I was crowned Lord of the Castle. And it turns out, because again, I forgot everything. It's like if I would be restarting a game over, you ever think about yourself like, hey, I wish I could just play a game and forget everything and then be fresh. Well, that's how I am with this game. I haven't played it in like so long, like I said. So I get that done. I go in, I become Lord of the Castle. I get the really cool steel armor set. And now I can upgrade this castle by going and talking to a merchant in a different town, the Imperial City. And you can get this place pretty strong. And it's really cool to have that instead of a house, especially as the character that I'm playing, this knight. Another thing I want to point out too is the voice acting. I mean, I'm going to speak too much on it, as the Elder Scrolls games as well as Fallout, they only had a few voice actors that tend to voice all the characters in the game. Though I will say the first guy you really meet going to Kvatch really nails it. I mean, just listen to this.
Come on, run while there's still time. The guard still holds the road, but it's only a matter of time before they're overwhelmed. God's blood. You don't know, do you? Deidre overran Kvatch last night. There were glowing portals outside the walls, gates to Oblivion itself. There was a huge creature, something out of a nightmare, came right over the walls, blasting fire that swarmed around it. It was Savli and Matthias. Some of the other guards helped some of us escape. They cut their way out, right through the city gates. Savlian says they can hold the road. No, I don't believe him. Nothing can stop them. If you'd seen it, you'd know. I'm getting out of here before it's too late. They'll be here any minute, I'm telling you. Run while you can.
Yeah, I think that's pretty incredible for a game like this. And people like to say this game is a little wacky, and it is. And it's like some of the other voice acting is hit or miss, but this character stood out to me already. And the world feels lively for it being such a simplistic thing. And when you're trekking through the green hills and forests of Cyrodiil, you can come up on hillsides to look over these towns, and being able to look into them is just, well, I still get that same feeling I did as a kid, even though the graphics aren't the best. I personally feel like the old art style of Oblivion holds up better than the new Unreal style that they laid on top of the Gamebryo engine. And I know that's not going to be a lot of people's opinion. And no, I'm not saying that to be controversial, but I genuinely believe this more high fantasy HDR kind of led sort of this credence to this high fantasy that Oblivion was trying to really portray, unlike the more gritty, darker Morrowind or the more Norse, cool and cold Viking aesthetics that the Skyrim was representing, right? And so Oblivion is this weird, I would say this weird sheep in the family, right? Because all this Elder Scrolls games, well, none of them really were the high fantasy look to them, right? They all were pretty darker color themed, more realistic in terms, if you want to say it that way, in tone. I mean, you can even look back at Daggerfall, Arena. All of them are kind of trying to hit this gritty sort of RPG, not really super dark fantasy, but it was still trying to hit that point of it being a little bit gritty and dirty. And I kind of like that, but Oblivion again stands out. Another thing I want to point out about the world is that these books and these scrolls that you get throughout the world and reading them, the way they're written in this game is just, now this isn't the first time that they've done this, of course, but it's just really nice. Picking up these small notes to friends, or maybe finding some rumors and that kind of stuff, right? Reading in, and you could even find where treasure's buried or where quests are. And again, this isn't new, but it's the format of the UI in this game, of it being a scroll that comes up on your screen, and it really fits into the whole parchment style UI that I thoroughly enjoy the art style of. The lighting to me is something else too. See, nowadays we have dynamic lighting and everything, but Oblivion, the way its lights work in the game is really atmospheric to me. I just find it so cool to see the way that the sconces light up areas, and when you're in dungeons, the way torches light up the area, or mage light. And it's almost otherworldly in some ways, and I really, really, really enjoy that. The cool thing is too, is in the world, you can see between cities sometime. Like if you're on your way to Kvatch, but you see Anvil, you can see the cities in between there. And it's really neat to be up on the hill and get that much view distance. I know the PC version has a little bit more view distance than the Xbox version. The pop-in isn't the best, but you can still see the walls in the distance. And you get this sort of feeling of, okay, I have this much more to travel. And time traveling is another thing I want to talk about. Is sure, everything is unlocked at the beginning pretty much to fast travel, but you really don't want to do that. I really try not to fast travel, and man, leveling up your acrobatic and your athletics during just walking between areas and running between areas and climbing hillsides and whatever, you build up this pretty strong character early on where you can run faster and jump higher, and I'm wearing heavy armor and I'm able to feel like I don't have any real restrictions. It really does help in combat. I don't think the game needs a sprint at all, and I've heard a lot of people that played the remaster say the inclusion of sprint makes the game infinitely better, and honestly, I'm not here to debate about which is which, but personally I feel like you don't need to have that. It was nice in Skyrim because Skyrim did not have the athletics trait to make you go faster by default, but you're already running. That's why in this game, if you noticed, your fatigue, recharges faster when you're walking or standing still or crouched, because in combat, a lot of the times I walk when I'm in combat instead of sprinting, and I'm playing on mouse and keyboard, so I have to hit the walk button. But the fact that there's a dedicated walk button for that purpose goes to show that, hey, this was the intended feature of the game. I'm not going to bash on the remaster too much. I really just want to talk more about this game, and again, I'm rambling a little bit, but outside that though, I want to talk about how you walk through the world, and when you go to each different town, it kind of represents the culture that's there. Every town has their own building archetype, depending if you're more closer to Skyrim in Bruma, or if you're more south between Elsewhere and the border to the east, you have these different sort of style of buildings, and they all have personality, and the guards that wear the tabards of that town kind of reflect that as well. The NPCs there, their attitudes, they reflect it. It really has this feeling that Cyrodiil is this middle ground for all of the cultures around. And it really does help when you're playing different races in the game. But whenever you play as an Argonian or a Dunmer, you can still find those little pockets of home within Cyrodiil. You don't really feel like an outsider as much as you do in other games. I really like the design of the weapons and armor. Again, it's a high fantasy take, right? But it's believable in a way that you can imagine in your head that, yeah, knights of this time period that they're trying to represent here would probably wear something like this. Then you have the more exotic armors like glass or elven that look foreign and in a way that's like not human, right? I always love that about this game. The weapons going from your basic iron sword to all the way up to Daedric and getting these demonic twisted weapons and armor. It has a certain feel to it that I don't think any of the other Elder Scrolls has been able to replicate. The setting of the game is one thing I want to add into, and I'm not going to talk much spoilers even though the game is old as hell, but the fact you're not the main character feels nice too. This world moves without you a lot of the times, or at least the game tries to make it feel that way. And the world doesn't revolve around you. You're not the Dragonborn, you're just some guy who's trying to help find the lost son of the Emperor and get that mess settled up, right? I would say that Skyrim's base story is probably better in the long run, but I think Oblivion really hammers it home when it comes to the side quests, especially the guilds, the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood. They're all really incredible stories that I think hold up better than any of the Elder Scrolls games. And I find myself wanting to do those more than the main quest line. And it's a shame we haven't gotten an RPG that offers similar value out of an open world ever since this game. I know there are modded experiences out there and you can mod Skyrim to death to get what you want. You can even mod Fallout to get what you want like that, but really it just doesn't feel like Oblivion. Man, it's like 13 minutes into the video or something. I could talk about this game for ages. I just really love this game. And honestly, if none of you have played this game, the original version of the game in a very long time, I am going to link below a video that this guy made that helped me mod my game to work, and it only requires 4 mods. Download these mods, play the game at mouse and keyboard. I know it's a little different than controller, but trust me, it is worth playing. If you not got to experience this game in its raw form, even without the unofficial patch, you are missing out on what I think is the most influential, or one of the most influential RPGs in my lifetime. I'm 30, but I can tell you, I've played games from Link to the Past to Shadowrun, and Oblivion still sits there as the top 3. Well, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. I'm going to get started on that Wildcats video, but I wanted to say thank you so much, guys. And I love making videos about games that I love, and sometimes I might get a little distracted about it, but you know, I really appreciate all the support, especially coming off Elden Ring and, you know, trying to figure out what I want to do, and just yapping about games is pretty much it, I think. So see you guys in the next video. Peace.